So today we're going to be taking a look at this Dell XPS M1530, a laptop that's almost 15 years old. Why take a look at it? Well, I think it's a pretty cool laptop and it has features that you really don't see too much in most modern laptops. So let's talk about the specs. So this is a 15-inch laptop, and when it was released back in 2007, had a MSRP of anywhere from $899 up to almost $2,000 US. So the CPU that it came with, typically, depending on the model and the variation you got, was the T5250 up into the T9300 or 9500, I believe was the one you can max out for. It is the Intel Core 2 Duo platform, and it ran with Windows Vista, and it also had the whole fingerprint reader, which is pretty nice. Now, other specs pretty much consisted of DDR2 memory, 2 gigs was traditional, 160 gig hard drive or 120 gig. The graphics card was the NVIDIA GeForce 8600M GT, or the lower model 8400 GS. Now on the side, you had the DVD writer / burner, which was the slot load, which really cool, one of my favorites. S-Video, USB, and provisions to turn your Wi-Fi on and off, which makes it kind of simple, maybe more complicated. SD card reader, 2 headphone jacks, and a microphone jack. And on this side, HDMI, the 1394, Ethernet, VGA, 2 more USBs, and your power. So now, if I'm honest, I don't remember how I got this thing. It was either left, thrown out, donated, can't remember. But either way, what I want to do today in this video is we're going to upgrade it, which is pretty cool and traditional. But one thing I do like about this that you don't see in a laptop is that we're going to upgrade the CPU. So we're going to pop in extra memory. We're going to try to go with 4 gigs of DDR2 memory. Yeah, I know DDR2 is definitely the bottleneck for it. And the CPU, we can upgrade the CPU. So now it came with the T5250, which only clocked at 1.5 gigahertz, but I'm actually going to put in the T9300, which clocked at 2.5 gigahertz. Should be a nice little boost. Might be able to run some Windows 7 on it, and then we'll see what kind of games we can play on it. So now, upgradability on this thing was actually really simple compared to most laptops. Most laptops, you got to like take everything apart and just kind of go crazy with 1,000 screws and wires. This was fairly simple. Only has a couple of screws right over here. You take this panel out, and you got access to your memory and your CPU. Take off this panel, you have access to your Wi-Fi card and whatnot. You got 2 screws right over here. When you pop this out, you got access to your hard drive or solid state drive. In this case, we're going to pop in a solid state drive. So a very cool feature that I like on this laptop that you don't see on a lot of these new laptops, and I don't know why they kind of went away from this, but I mean, it is what it is that you can upgrade the CPU. So now this one, you got a couple of screws right over here. I'm going to take them out just like so. And you got 2 more right over here, which we're going to loosen as well. And it's incredibly simple on how easy they made this. And I kind of wish laptops were this simple to work on. And you got 1 more screw right over here. And as you see, once we take this thing out, this thing pops right out. Well, if I loosen the screw properly, let's see. There we go, pops right out. Now let's be mindful of our connector. Let's move it out. And for our CPU, all you have to do is just really turn this, just like so. And it pops right out, which I think is freaking cool. And I definitely like that. So this is the 1.5 gigahertz. We're gonna go ahead and pop in a 2.5 gigahertz. And it's just as simple as matching up the Legend of Zelda triangle right over here. Turn that in. Done. Fresh thermal paste, clean it up, we'll be good to go. And even the memory, I mean, it's just very simple, as it's just right over here. Slide it in. Slide it in. So these are 2 gig sticks. So we'll have 4 gigs versus the 2 gigs that this thing initially came with. And we're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead, clean up the heatsink, put this back together, and we'll move on to the solid state drive. So now onto our hard drive upgrade. If you're going to have these older laptops, older computers, solid state drive is like putting a turbo supercharger in it. Makes a really difference regardless of how slow the CPU is. Definitely will help you with just using it for daily activities, even like gaming. So this one, we take the 2 screws out, we pop it out, slides out like so, and we're done. So now I've already went ahead and installed the solid state drive, and something to kind of consider is that you need to be mindful of what ones you're using. Some of them are slightly shorter, and you're going to run into the issue where because of this cover right over here, it's not going to sit properly and it won't make good connections. This one's a 50 gig Micron one. Actually, about a couple of years ago, I got a bunch of computers and I was able to salvage these. Engineering sample, so don't know where it came from. I mean, as far as the origin of the computer, but Works great, and 50 gigs is more than enough for what I'm gonna do with this. So I'm gonna slide this back in, 2 screws, and we're good to go. All right, let's fire it up. Make sure this thing works. It's turning on, it says Dell. We're good to go. So I'm gonna let this boot into Windows real quick. All right, so it picks up our T9300, clocked at 2.5 gigahertz, our 4 gigabytes of memory, and obviously our solid state drive works because we're booting into Windows. So let's try to play a game or two, maybe a little Fortnite, see what else we come up with, and let's talk about it. All right, so trying to play Fortnite, which was expected. Nope. A Direct 3D 11 compatible GPU is required to run the game. I figured as much, but why not give it a shot? I'm gonna try one more game and then wrap this up. Well, we found one game that we can play, Among Us. And that's pretty much to be expected, if I'm honest with you. I mean, it's a potato game, and this laptop, as old as it can, that's what you're gonna get. But it actually plays pretty well. So maybe a lot of these games that have like minimal to low requirements on hardware will actually work pretty decent. So I'm pretty sure Fall Guys may work on it. Might have to double check the specs. I don't own that game, so I can't really test it, but definitely something to consider. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. 15-year-old laptop, Dell XPS M1530. I gotta say, they don't make them like they used to. I just like the feature and the fact that you can upgrade the CPU. And if you think about it, if all these new laptops were, or these companies were to do this feature, you could buy the base model, then get the CPU upgrade for it on the eBay or secondhand market and save a lot of money, because there is a heck of a markup when you go from like the mainstream CPU to the high-end gaming CPU. Yeah, I can see why they did that. Got to make the money. As far as use for it, retro hardware, light gaming, as far as potato games, and that's about it. I mean, that CPU did make a huge improvement on it. I mean, we went up 1 gigahertz. Luckily, I was able to find that that solid state drive for it, so only has 50 gigs on it. Kind of small, but it is what it is on that. Another thing to note about it, the Wi-Fi in this thing is just horribly slow. So we had to plug in a hard line over here, and that was actually allowed me to download games on it. So it's definitely a cool piece of hardware, and I like it. Definitely going to keep it around for a little bit. Maybe do some retro emulation. I don't know. I still back and forth on what I want to do with it. So you guys just let me know down in the comments recommendations. I might use it to play with the whole Linux distro. This actually might be a good candidate to do some learning on that. But other than that, I'm going to put it in its nice sleeve, put it away for now until I decide to do something else or get more free time, and move on to the next project. So guys, thanks for watching. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this laptop, and maybe another laptop brand that you're aware of that you can upgrade like this one does. So thanks for watching, and we'll see what we'll come up with next.